back into Race Central Unplugged. I have a feeling this is going to be a good one. This is episode 20, so it's a big accomplishment for us. I'm producer Sydney Corra, right next to longtime motorsports insider Kurt Hansen. Kurt, how the hell are you?
Besides being exhausted, I'm pretty good. It was a long weekend. Pikes International Hill Climb, Fan Fest, Friday night, 40,000 of my closest friends. Some business meetings on Friday. Then spent the night in might be the scariest little motel I've ever been in my life. Fortunately, the cockroaches, I think, had taken the weekend off, but the room was okay. The neighborhood was scary as hell. And just stepping out your front door, you gotta open the door and peeked around first to be sure. And the little hobo trail that ran right back past the back of the motel where my car was parked. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, I'm gonna hear my car alarm go off at any second. But alas, it did not. Yeah, and then 6.5 hours at Colorado National Speedway on Saturday night. Good show, just long show.
Yeah.
But what's an old guy gonna do in a small town?
Right. Colorado Springs is just like one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Yeah.
But it's odd. Just Isn't that strange?
It's
What's his place?
I mean, homes out by the Broadmoor, and then up north by the Air Force Academy on the west and east side up by the Academy. I mean, really, really nice homes and beautiful. But downtown Springs is the main drag in downtown Springs is okay, albeit still a lot of homeless and crackheads. But boy, you venture, 4 or 5 blocks east of downtown, and it right away gets really scary. So watch your P's and Q's and don't wear your expensive jewelry.
Yeah. Well, anyways, good racing up there at Colorado National Speedway, huh?
Yeah, good show. Albeit, very long night, and coming right on the heels of Friday night and then driving home Saturday. It was a long night. And Sunday, I felt like I'd been run over by a bus. I wish I'd caught the bus number because I would call it RTD and complain. Yeah.
Kurt, it's Independence Day weekend coming up. What are your plans for the 4th?
Nothing.
Nothing? What? You're the motorsports insider of Denver, Colorado, and motorsports racing
I'm the insider. I'm the insider of the world.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
You know things that we don't know, huh?
Yeah, you know that.
No, there's All right, what about, you're not taking the wife out to see some fireworks?
Oh, we'll probably do something. I mean, something like that. We thought about, because I'm off this weekend, there's a 2-night sprint car show at Colorado National Speedway, and I took that weekend off. So I might just go up with a client or two and just sit in the VIP beer garden and watch some sprint cars. But
heck yeah.
Yeah, they bring their own announcer, and I'm fine with that because I'm 8 races in, and it's grueling. It's a long night. You're tired the next day, and then you really feel it even like 2 days later. It's like, man, oh man, I got a hitch in my get along. So It is what it is.
You got to get some of that green juice in your life, Kurt.
Me, you might be right. Maybe when I see you Friday, you'll have to bring me. You know what? Maybe bring me some of that stuff. I'm ready. I'm ready to do anything to feel less tired.
Yeah. We'll get some matcha in you. Matcha is a green tea, so it does have caffeine in it. You might like that.
Okay. Where do I get that? Are you going to bring it for me?
I can bring it for you. It's from Starbucks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, send me a text later and tell me what it is, and I'll get some.
Yeah, okay. I will.
Because I go to Starbucks every Friday before the show to get ready, which is right there on Bellevue. So, yeah, right. I'll do that. Yeah.
So, anyways, Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, any wrap-up thoughts on that?
Well, finally, because my involvement there goes back 20 years from being on the board of directors for quite a long time. I was the anchor for ESPN TV a couple times, Speed TV a couple times, Outdoor Channel, Altitude Sports Entertainment. I emceed Fan Fest for years for the Red Bull bike jumping and stuff. It's a pretty cool gig, and
right.
I must say it's a long day because I have to get up to like 4 a.m, especially if I'm somewhere on the course, once you pass start finish, you can't leave. You're there until the race is over. So
Yeah.
I've been up there times where I get up the hill at 4 a.m. and come down off the mountain at midnight. So it's a long day, and the weather. So I guess the point I'm getting to, the last 4 or 5 years, the weather's been really affected the race, and that that mountain is 15,000 feet, and it makes its own weather. It has a super high iron content, and that it tracks. It can be perfectly sunny, and an hour later snowing. I've been up there with that. That's happened. One year they weren't sure they were going to get us off the top of the mountain. They were preparing for us to sleep in the summit restaurant where the cog rail comes in. So we were going to spend the night and sleep. They're going to lay out blankets and we're all going to sleep in the summit lodge, which was really exciting. And I had to be in Sonoma the next day to do ESPN radio for the NASCAR race at Sonoma. And they finally got us off the mountain, and I made it like a world record time from Colorado Springs to DIA. I just caught my flight. It was the last flight that could have got me to San Francisco, and then woke up the next morning, and I didn't even know where I was. But I enjoy doing it. But Robin Shute won it again, I believe the fourth time out of 5 years, in what is basically a highly modified former Wolf Formula One car.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't get the super outright record that Romain Dumas, who, if you're a sports car fan, everybody is familiar with that name. But Romain set the outright world record that was previously held by Sebastian Loeb. Also, I did the Red Bull Global TV broadcast from the mountain a few years ago, that was interesting. I'll leave it at that. But Romain broke Sebastian's record 2 years ago, I believe, maybe 3, in that super badass electric powered Volkswagen prototype. I think it was 7 minutes, or 7 minutes, like 15 seconds. I mean, 150 turns. You start, at 8,000 feet and end up at the summit at 14.1, I think it is. 14.1 or 15.1. And it takes the average passenger car about an hour to drive from start line to the summit. And these guys are doing it in 7-8 minutes. Think about it. I mean, 1 year when I was anchoring the radio broadcast for KRDO Radio, I was anchored at 16 Mile, the straight going up to 16 Mile. I mean, if you go off there, you could roll to the bottom of the mountain, literally. And these guys went off in a silver Mitsubishi Evolution rally car, and they were on like Good Morning America the next day. I mean, it was a global story, and they survived. They were very lucky. The car just tumbled, and the car was coming apart, and the roll cage was about ready to come apart, which means they were going to come apart. And there was one big boulder in this little gully, and we're all watching this, and I'm live on the air, and one of the wheels got hung up on this big boulder as they were rolling past it, and it twisted the car around and kind of wedged it in this little gully, and it stopped. And we saw those guys get out, because it took 5 minutes or longer to get to them, because it was very steep and it's very bouldery. So It's not like you just run down the hill. And we saw them step out, and it's like, that's a fucking miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a miracle. But these guys, they were on all the good national morning shows the next day, and I'm sure there's a video on YouTube somewhere of it. And they're also in car, which you can see them go off, and there's nothing but blue sky. And it was pretty amazing. But it's a cool event. It's the road has deteriorated a lot over the few years, because they completely resculpted the top of the mountain where the new summit lodge is. The old one was going to fall down the mountain, but the new lodge is spectacular. But they completely re-landscaped the top of the mountain where the lodge is, and the new lodge, and from all the heavy trucks going up and down the road for the past 3 or 4 years, has made the road very, very, very bumpy.
Yeah.
And increased the danger exponentially. Colin Dunn is one of the most popular. He's factory Ducati bike racer. Because of the bumps, frankly, I'll just come out and say it. I mean, we all knew it. Got pitched off the mountain about 3-4 years ago and was killed. I mean, he flew. I mean, think about it. He's tumbling through jagged boulders that are the size of half a Volkswagen, and and that was because of the road, and they're going to have to address that uh, soon. And I don't know if the feds, so the feds own the mountain and the road, are going to spend the tens of millions of dollars it's going to take to repave it or try to smooth it out. I doubt it. So I think it's if you race at Pikes Peak, and the bumps are so bad this year that a lot of guys set personal bests, but I don't think Romain Dumas' number is going to get touched for a while. Robin got close. He was about 40 seconds off the world record time. But even he said, because of the pavement conditions, and nobody wants to talk about the bumps because it's a thing. So it's like in racing when, your car blows up, they say, well, it was an electrical issue. And the real story is that when the engine explodes, it blows all the electric off the motor and you have an electrical problem. So, they got a road problem. And I don't think that record is going to be broken in a long time because it's just the conditions will not allow you to go fast enough. My good friend Paul Dollenbach came back this year. He's won it 13, 14, 15 times in different categories and been the overall champion a couple times.
Right.
They had a motor failure. They had a new big monster motor making 1,000 horsepower, and it blew up in practice during the week, and not practice on the mountain, practice at Pikes Peak International Raceway. So they put the old Buick V6 turbo motor in that has been problematic, and he didn't even get a chance to have any practice runs this year, which was the first time ever in the 30 years that a Dollenbach has raced that mountain that he got no practice. But he knows the mountain implicitly, but he didn't really get to know how bad or big the bumps were, except getting reconnaissance from other drivers saying, hey, at turn 100, let's just make
there's a giant pothole.
Well, there's no potholes, but all the corners there have fancy names. So I'll just pick what is at Loggers Cut, I think it's called. Then they might say, hey, the bumps at Loggers Cut are worse than ever, and
be careful.
Be careful. So and even Rob and a lot of drivers this year said they made a lot of mistakes, and I think these are highly talented drivers. Those mistakes are being caused by road inconsistency and bumps and stuff like that. So cool race. I've been there a million times. It's a lot of fun. I did not go up the mountain on Sunday because I couldn't get from Denver after announcing until midnight Saturday night and get back down there. And I would have been a zombie Sunday. So, but cool stuff. It's ironically, it's a race that is far known better around the world than it is right here in the United States and right here in Colorado. I mean, I meet people like, oh, they still doing that race? Yeah, it's like this is like the 104th or 5th edition, and they're still doing that race. Second oldest race in America. So what the heck?
All right, come on, Denverites. Is that what you call a person from Denver?
I guess, yeah.
Coloradans. Well,
or snowflakes.
We'll have to see like how far they can push it without making like drastic changes to the roads because.
Well, the road is the road. The road ain't going to change, but they could repave it. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, but it'll have to happen at some point because pretty soon don't you think people will like refuse to do the race or? Well,
after Colin Dunn was killed, they dropped motorcycles, and the motorcycles were one of the most popular. I mean, they had hundreds of riders, and some of the best riders in the world coming. Evidenced by Colin Dunn and. The Tracy brothers, who are also factory Ducati riders. I mean, the bike deal was a big deal. And when Colin was killed, pretty much all the riders said, unless you change the road or fix the road or whatever, we're out. So it's kind of sad because I'm sure there's a lot of people that came to see the bikes primarily. And those people aren't coming anymore. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they may kind of be coming in, dribs and drabs, but bikes were really popular. So the bikes went away and they'll never come back. I just don't see that happening. There are some guys, local guys, members of the Colorado Hill Climb Association that have raced there for, decades that aren't coming back because, frankly, the promoters of the race and the way it's managed now, they didn't really care if they came They did when there wasn't the attention the race gets now, and all the factory money and Porsches and fancy cars and stuff, and they kind of shoved them out the door, which is why I kind of pulled back my involvement, because they really don't. For a long time, it was maybe 10 cool cars and 100 of whatever. One of the most interesting years, one year, was when all the Baja super trucks came, the trophy trucks. That was God, the promoter whose name is escaping me, from a legendary guy, but that was cool. The trucks came. Then for years they let the Rocky Mountain Vintage Group, the RMVR cars, come in small numbers, and they're mostly vintage cars that would have raced in the Carrera Panamera, in the 50s and 60s. Big old cool Cadillacs and Dodge Chargers and stuff, but they told them to go away too. Plus, they raised the entry fees now, where it's a very expensive deal. They chased a lot of the soul of the race away. It's now very corporate. It's not grassroots at all. It's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of like NASCAR on the side of a mountain, sort of.
Right. Well,
that's
nevertheless,
why I've lost interest.
Yeah. Nevertheless, it is a cool race. And speaking of cool ass races, the Chicago Street Race this weekend.
Yeah, I know. I'll be watching. And the gal that used to run Phoenix International Raceway, Julie. That's what happens when you get old. Anyway, Julie Geis, I think is her name. Whatever. They brought in a really, really sharp gal, Letitia Causey, to run Phoenix now, and it's very community oriented. Comes from big money banking. She gets it. Neat gal. I've had private meetings with her. She's a neat lady. But they brought Julie in because she really was part of the complete revamping of Phoenix International Raceway, which is now, in my opinion, probably one of the coolest fan experiences of races of the year. And who doesn't want to be in the Valley of the Sun in November when it's low 80s during the day and high 60s at night, and 100,000 of your closest friends are there, and it's a cool event. But yeah, Julie,
turning around.
What's that?
Shout out to her for turning things around.
Well, then a bunch of big money came in, and but she did a good job. She has been the one putting together the Chicago race, and some drivers don't like it. Kyle Busch has been vocal, not in a positive way, but that's Kyle Busch. So I think there's a lot of waiting to see. The NASCAR spin, before this weekend's NASCAR race, they had Parker Kligerman, who's a really good NASCAR driver, truck driver, and does commentary. They had him there, and ironically, they cut away to him, and it's a massive downpour. It is it is pouring buckets like it does here in Colorado. But we'll see. Some of the merchants
doesn't happen.
No, well, it will certainly be exciting. It's for NASCAR's entrance back into street racing. I believe they did it a million years ago, albeit I can't remember where. But it's going to be interesting because the hype is all there. I know there'll be a lot of people there. And certainly if you look at what IndyCar did last year with the Streets of Nashville race, that was one part of the fun. Rock and roll, kick-ass party.
Yeah.
And Nashville's now become a place to go. And, NASCAR's trying to tie into some of that street race hype, and I get it. I like the idea of trying it. I hope it comes off really, really well. Some of the merchants are all pissed off because they say their business is going to get hurt and things like that. But I don't know. You bring a couple 100,000 people, because there'll be a couple 100,000 people there into downtown Chicago, and that money's got to go somewhere. And if you look at Miami, was worth tens of millions of dollars of revenue into the economy. So I think Chicago, it'll be cool. I pray it doesn't rain.
Right.
That could really mess it up. And I'm sure they have a contingency plan if it does, because it does rain there. But I'm excited for it. And we'll see what's going to happen. This weekend, it's just a couple days away. So,
right.
It's time to, when the green flag drops, the bullshit stops, as we like to say.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Are you taking a pen back there?
Yeah, I might. Yeah. Me and my pens.
Yeah. You're that infamous pen click in the background is going to be the death Kurt.
That's why I've taken the springs out of most of my pens. But, and I have to thank the Westin Hotel Long Beach for, I think I stole like 50 of these, but I've broken most of them. See, I break the thing off, so I play with that, and then it breaks, and then
yeah.
Stop clicking. My security blanket. I'll get my security blanket. My Linus.
We got to get you a fidget spinner.
I have a ring that has a spinner on it that I do. Oh. Maybe I'll start wearing that. It's right over there.
Yeah. Well, anyways, so there's one driver that will not be in the race, and that's Jimmie Johnson.
When I heard that, I had to it's like when I heard the submarine blew up. I had to go, wait a second. Really? But yeah, his in-laws and his in-laws' grandson found murdered, and they believe a murder-suicide back in Oklahoma, if memory serves me correct. I mean, drivers lead a fancy life, but they have, also another life and other stuff. They're not saying who they think did it, but they seem pretty convinced it was a murder-suicide, which is really, it's mind-blowing. I can't imagine this is Chandra's parents. I can't imagine if Chandra's dealing with it. And, their marriage is very, very strong. So I can see where they legacy withdrew, because I don't think Jimmy would be, it's tough to be ha ha ho ho and jump in a race car and focus and go fast when something like that is looming over your head, and it's a lot to unpack. And it's athletes and celebrities have lives too, and they get affected by crazy stuff. We just hear a lot more about it when celebrities are affected. But I feel bad. I've always been a Jimmie Johnson fan. I like Jimmy. I talked to him at great length in Long Beach a couple of years ago when he was doing the Carvana IndyCar deal with Chip Ganassi. He's a solid guy, solid dude.
Right.
And coming right off all the monstrous success that they had at Le Mans, the fans loved the Batmobile Chevrolet is what I'll call it. And then to hear that Jimmy's coming back next year and going to do limited races with Toyota, he's just a good guy, and people want to partner with him and want to involve him in their efforts because of the fan base he brings. I mean, he was not good in Indy cars and whatever, but Carvana stuck with him, paid him, millions of dollars in sponsorship, if not tens of millions of dollars. And, they're with him on the car at Le Mans, and I'm sure they're going to still be with him because of his Jimmie Johnson-ism.
Well, we got a few minutes left. Prayers, seriously, to Jimmie Johnson and especially his wife, and that's just so horrible. But the good news about being part of a big community is more people to pray for you and help you through it. So that sucks, but we'll still be looking forward to the Chicago street race. With the time we have left here, why don't we move on to Alex Palou? What was the deal there?
Here we go. And this is another one. I had the opportunity to speak at great length with Chip Ganassi's attorney in the bar at the Westin Hotel, which is the bar is kind of like, that's where you get all the good stuff. That's where I get all my good stuff.
Inside information in there.
Right. So I asked him point blank about it, and he was very candid. To reset real quick, Alex Palou's contract was up with Ganassi. The same day, within minutes, Alex announced that he had signed a McLaren contract to drive the McLaren in IndyCar that could potentially lead to Formula One opportunities with McLaren. Within moments, Ganassi announced that they had re-signed Alex, hence the massive lawsuit. Zach Brown, who is the principal of McLaren for Formula One and IndyCar, is a guy who raced Formula Atlantic cars with way back in the day. And on comes the lawsuit. And to say that the way it was inferred to me, I think the exact words, he says, we just made it very apparent to Alex that he needed to do the right thing, which means that, a bunch of guys in black, camo gear and hoodies come to your door in the middle of the night, influence you. So the way it was put to me is they put a lot of influence on Alex Palou to do the right thing and honor his Ganassi contract. And he has. He's won, I want to say, 3 out of 5 races this year. He's leading the points. He was on the pole at Indy and potentially could have won it, except for the pit incident. Mm-hmm. And now the rumors are coming up that there's a couple Formula One teams very interested in him. He's young. We've never seen a guy go really from Indy cars to Formula One. Michael Andretti tried it years ago, decades ago. It was a horrific mistake. He wasn't given the right equipment, albeit he went to a McLaren, ironically, with Ayrton Senna as his teammate. And it looks like allegedly, and he's really good friends with Max Verstappen, who will be here, three-time Formula One world champion. Again, he's dominated the season. Nobody's going to touch him unless he forgets to wake up for the next 3 months. So he's good friends with as I call him, Maxie Axe. And there's rumors that he being Alex Palou, may go to the Red Bull second team, which is AlphaTauri, and replace a young man who's really struggling mightily. Or if he signs a McLaren contract, because he's already driven the McLaren Formula One car twice.
Yeah.
And did very, very well. Impressed. So if he signs a McLaren contract, I mean, Red Bull and McLaren both have plenty of legal juice and dollars to extract him from his Ganassi contract. Because when it comes back to him, if you're not going to race for Chip, then Chip just says, well, now you pay me. And they would, because they have it, and it would be a lot of money. But if Alex wants to go to Formula One, he can go to Formula One. So here we are. The season's, half over for IndyCar. We've got probably not even half. We've got a boatload of races coming up. Their season will end, though, in September. I don't know, man. The season will wrap up at Laguna Seca, California. If I had an opportunity to go to Formula One and I was young like that, had all this money and vibe, I'd probably go.
Yeah.
I'd probably go. And hope Roman Grosjean gets his stuff figured out, because he's starting to irritate people and bringing his crashing ways to IndyCar. Even though he was a great story, and God bless him. He walked away from that horrific accident and fire. But boy, a lot going on, and I'm excited for this weekend. And I'll be watching the Chicago race. I think a lot of people will. There'll be a lot of people there.
Yeah. We'll
see what happens. I believe coming up next for IndyCar, I think, is Iowa. So, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know.
That's the big concert, right? That's in Iowa.
The Iowa Corn 300 or whatever they call it.
Well, I'm excited for that too. We'll have plenty to talk about after that one.
Yeah, and it's always a good race, and usually it's so hot and humid that when they move the race to the nights now, because no driver can withstand the heat and humidity. Yeah. And I think it's Iowa. Again, all the stuff that I'm doing and going on, TV shows, radio shows, blah blah blah, the video cast. I look at the schedule literally on Friday to figure out to figure out what I got to do and where they're going. So anyway, it is. Anyway,
I thought this was a good wrap up, and I don't know, what would you say? Wrap up and hype up of what we had last week, and hype up for what's going to happen this weekend. And man, I'm excited to see that Chicago street race.
Yeah.
Well, Yeah, it was good catching up with you, Kurt. We're right up on 30 minutes here. So that's episode 20 of Race Central Unplugged. We will be on the radio this Friday. Isn't that right?
Yes. 3 to 5, The Drive, right here on the Mile High AM 1600 and FM 104.3, The Fan HD2. And for those of you around the country and around the globe, as I like to put it, or just want to listen online, you can go to racecentralmedia.com and click on the radio link, and it'll dial you into the show. Good show lined up. We got and a good friend of the program, Justin Ashley, who's having a hell of a year in the NHRA. We'll see what happens, but with the NHRA point system, you can dominate the season, all the way up to the countdown. And this has happened to our good friend Steve Torrance a couple of times, and then stumble a little bit in the countdown. And everything you did, for 3/4 of the season doesn't matter. And you can lose a championship by 1 point, which he did to Brittany Force. We had Brittany on recently. She's right in the thick of it. No, that's Brittany Force is up for Max Verstappen, Brittany Force. We need that Prevagen sponsorship. And others up for ESPYs for Driver of the Year, for Athlete of the Year, or Colorado's own Michaela Schifrin, the winningest ski racer ever. So it's going to be a great year, and I'm just hoping that now that summer is here, it's not going to end in a month and a half, because it is moving in July. So we got July, August, and September starts to go to fall. So maybe we got 2 months left. Who knows?
I know it's going quick, but I have a feeling that summer is going to last longer. Hopefully,
it can last right to next summer if it wants to. I'm fine with that. Whatever that means.
Well, I'm excited for the show this Friday, and we'll see you in the studio.
All right, Smiley. Good to see you. Right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning us in. And tune us in on the radio, and wherever you can hear my voice in America. You can watch Race Central TV. You can also watch us on any television set, your good old portable device, whatever your jam may be. So I'm going to roll out of here, Sid. Good to see you. And text me that green goo stuff, and I'll get some on Friday.
I will. All right. See you, everyone.